Good evening, my lovelies. I'm Lady MCreepsta. Thank you for stopping by my realm. Do you prefer living alone as opposed to living with a roommate? The company can be nice, but roommates can also be pesky, can't they? In today's tale by Redditor Ida Rose, one girl still has to put up with a pesky roommate, even though she lives alone. Come now, my dears. Lean in closer, and we'll begin. First-time poster and new to Reddit. I told a few of my uni friends my story, and one of them told me about Reddit and said to post my story here. Thanks, James. Anyway, I live in an old apartment complex that's very close to the university I attend. My apartment is old and very outdated, but the rent is cheap. I only work part-time while I attend university and was excited to find somewhere affordable. I didn't really care what it looked like. Moving into this apartment meant I could still live comfortably. I live on my own, no roommates, and at first, I was comfortable in my apartment and never had any strange experiences for the first year. The only thing that I can remember strange was finding random hairs that weren't mine. The first few times it happened, I didn't even think anything of it, but it got more frequent. I went to sit on my recliner and saw a long blonde hair weaved into the fabric. Then I was in the shower and the same long blonde strand was on the shower curtain. It was strange because I have no blonde friends. Erin has ginger hair and Jenny has jet black hair. My own hair is shoulder length and chocolate brown. For a whole year, I would randomly find these blonde hairs, but always thought they probably came from my clothes after being out. It wasn't creepy enough to worry about. Then, after a whole year, I was laying on my couch watching Netflix. Out of nowhere, I hear a girl say my name. I froze. I couldn't move. I was terrified. I didn't know the voice and didn't want to find out who said it. Suddenly, all the blonde hairs I had found were on my mind. After 2 minutes just sitting there, I searched my apartment. My door was locked, all windows closed, and no one was there. This is when I told Erin and Jenny. I told them about the constant findings of blonde hairs and then the voice saying my name. It still wasn't serious at this point. They thought it would be cool if I had a sleepover and we tried talking to my spirit. Erin was really into the paranormal. Me and Jenny went along with it. It seemed cool at the time. I don't think I fully believed what was happening. Anyway, we were all in my apartment, and Erin says we should talk to the spirit and used her phone to record. We caught nothing on camera, but Erin still swears she heard a girl's voice say, "home." Me and Jenny didn't hear anything, though. After quite a fun night pretending to be ghost hunters, we all went to sleep in my room. Me and Jenny in the bed and Erin on the floor on a blow-up mattress. It was 2 a.m., and Jenny starts screaming. So loud and terrifying. She was still asleep, and me and Erin desperately tried to wake her, but she wouldn't wake. I ran and grabbed a glass of water and threw it on her face, and she woke up. She was so upset and scared, saying that in her dream she was in my apartment alone when all the lights went out, and she could feel someone with her. She said she realized it was a dream but couldn't wake up, hence the screaming. She wanted to leave, and we were all so shook up that we all left and went to Jenny's, who still lives with her parents. Jenny didn't want to talk about the dream again and told me that she's never had an experience like that before and doesn't want to go back into my apartment again. She was, and still is, traumatized by her experience. Fast forward 2 months since the Jenny incident. I was at uni and got a notification that my parcel I had been waiting for was successfully delivered. I was confused because it was an expensive item, a GoPro, and needed to be signed for. I left uni and rushed to my apartment because they had obviously left it on my doorstep and I didn't want it to get stolen. When I got there, it wasn't outside. It was inside, on my kitchen bench. I know that the landlord has keys and must have been there, so I got a bit annoyed because he usually tells me if he's coming over and why. I called him. He denied being there and told me he would have let me know if he was coming over, and he always has. This was true, but I just ignored that part of my mind which was screaming something wasn't right and just told myself that he doesn't want to admit that he was there and risk me being annoyed about it. Fast forward another 2 months, and I finally get a neighbor. The apartment next door to me, which was the only other apartment on my floor, has been in repairs for ages and has just been rented out to the nicest old lady. Her son helps her move in. He's in his 40s and a nice guy. Asks me to look out for his mum because he worries about her being alone. I reassure him that it's a good area and I've never had a problem living on my own in the complex. Faye is a lovely old lady and often brings me leftovers. I help her with putting her rubbish out and getting her bits and bobs from the shops when I go. We easily become friends, and life goes on. Now, here is where the most fucked up thing happens, and I will recall the whole conversation for you, word for word. I can't stop thinking about it since it happened a week ago. I just arrived home from uni. I'm about to go into my apartment when I hear Faye calling me from her apartment door. Hi, honey. Do you have a moment? I just want to talk to you quickly. Yeah, sure. Everything okay? Now, I'm walking towards her, and she's motioning for me to come into her apartment. We sit down at her table, and she says something that sends chills all over my body. Something I will never in my life forget. I don't know how to bring this up, and I've thought about it for a while, and I need to talk to you about it. I'm concerned about the girl you live with. Now, I understand she must have some sort of problem, and I feel for her, I really do, and I just want to help any way I can, but the crying all day is starting to affect my life. I've tried to go over there and comfort her, but she just tells me she's fine and doesn't come to the door. In my head, all the strange things that have happened start flashing through my mind, and I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Even so, I replied, Faye, the crying must be coming from another apartment. I live alone. Faye looked like she was in shock at my reply, but quickly recovered and said, If you're worried about me complaining, that's not the case. I was outside your apartment door just today while she spoke to me through the door, telling me she was fine. I've seen her too, so there's no use denying it. I'm not angry, I just want to help sort it out. Now, I was freaking out. I didn't even know what to say, but kept assuring her I lived alone. I took her into my apartment, and she seemed apprehensive. I showed her the one bedroom that was mine, and that no one else was here. She then insisted that I got back to her apartment for a coffee. I was glad she did. She made me a coffee and told me of all the times she had heard a girl crying and how she stood outside my door and offered help. She said the girl would always reply with the same monotone, I'm fine. And then the crying would stop. Now, I was really freaking out, and Faye could tell. Something she said stuck out at me, and I got the courage to ask her, even though I really didn't want to know. You said you saw her? What did she look like? I heard your door open and thought it was you coming home. As I opened my door, I saw her going down the stairs. All I really saw was her blonde hair. My veins were ice. I couldn't believe what was happening. I told Faye everything about the hair, the sleepover, the delivery. She looked how I felt. She told me that I was welcome to stay in her apartment. I did. We also decided to contact the landlord, thinking maybe someone still had the key and had been living in my apartment. He seemed very offish. He is usually quite a funny guy, always making jokes, but he just assured me no one else had a key, and then basically hung up. I'm now back in my apartment. The only people who know my story are Faye, Jenny, Erin, and 2 boys from my uni, James and Hudson. So what do I do now? I know this all seems so far-fetched, and I've thought about having a priest come around like in the movies, but I'm so embarrassed to contact one. What do I do? Update. Okay, so I thought I'd update everyone on my situation. Thanks for all your comments. They have really helped me. Firstly, I contacted my landlord. His name is Angelo. I think he's of Italian descent, as he has a slight accent. I'd describe Angelo as larger than life, but he seemed so off when I spoke to him last. After ignoring a few of my calls, he finally called me back yesterday afternoon. He admitted that it's possible the previous tenant could still have the keys. I started to get upset and quite angry, but he stops me and says, "Listen, it is not my fault. She stopped paying rent and she wasn't answering any of my calls. A whole month went by, so I came over and let myself in. All her stuff was still there, everything. It was like she had just left. All the food in the fridge had gone off, and there was a horrible smell, but it still seemed lived in. I waited another month of calling her and coming over during the day and the evening, but nothing changed in the apartment. I realized she wasn't coming back. Her handbag was gone, so I thought she ran out of money and ran off. I did report her missing to the police, but they wanted photographs and loads of information, and I had nothing but her name, which they told me must have been a fake. They basically said she's obviously done a runner, and they would investigate it, but nothing ever came of it. So I got the cleaners in and put the apartment up for rent." I instantly went cold. One thing that he said kept playing over and over in my mind. I rented the apartment partly furnished and realized it wasn't Angelo's stuff. It was hers. Angelo confirmed this, and I instantly felt sick. I got her name, of course, first and last. Even though the police said it was a fake, I decided to do my own research. He said her name was Lucy. I looked her up on every social media account and just searched her last name to see if I could find parents or a sibling. It's an uncommon surname, and after messaging a few possible leads, I came up empty. Angelo sent me her phone number and said that she had no emergency contacts, which I find strange. Angelo rents his apartments out privately and asked me for a lot more information than he had from Lucy. He obviously learnt his lesson. So anyway, last night James comes over and we went over the apartment thoroughly. There is nowhere that a person can hide. Nowhere. Then, the strangest thing of all happened, and I'm still trying to understand what happened as I sit and write this. I'm in my bed, almost asleep, and I'm laying on my side facing the bathroom door, which is half open. The lights are on in the bathroom, as I don't like being in complete darkness. The door moves just slightly, which immediately grabs my attention. Now I'm wide-eyed, staring at the door and looking at the thin line of light by the hinges. I can see something is blocking out a section of light, like a person. My heart was beating so fast, but I knew if this was her in my apartment, then I need to confront her. I jumped up so fast and was in the bathroom looking behind the door in a second. Nothing. There was no one there. My bathroom is tiny, but I looked around anyway. I just can't believe there was no one there. I could definitely see someone. When I sat back on my bed, none of the light was blocked out anymore. To save my sanity, I've convinced myself that because I was almost asleep, maybe I dozed off for a second and it was just a dream. I don't know. I just don't know what to think anymore. I've spoken to Angelo again today and told him that I want the locks changed and it's his responsibility, which he agreed and said he would call around for quotes and get back to me. So, do you prefer living with company or living by your lonesome? Let me know in the comments below. Also, do take note that my Dungeon Essentials, or as some of you call them, my merchandise, is available, and every purchase helps me keep this channel going. I'm very glad that you enjoy these stories as much as I enjoy making them, but even in my realm, it takes resources. That's all I have for you this evening, my dears. Till next time, sweet dreams.